Morning, everyone, as we've all been chatting and laughing with each other. I'm Sam Thompson, and I'm the Senior Partner Sales Enablement Manager with RingCentral. I'm just going to take a little bit of your time this morning to talk a little bit about the transformation or the move from more premise-based phone solutions into a more cloud-based solution and the benefits that that will bring. I do want to talk about RingCentral and Mitel. We have a strategic partnership with each other, and that's to help customers transition and make that move at their own pace. There are some customers who might be a little bit cloud apprehensive. I know a lot of businesses are a lot more cloud open since the pandemic happened, but this partnership allows for Mitel customers to have the best cloud experience possible while staying loyal to the Mitel brand if they choose to. Some of the benefits is that there's more innovation on the RingCentral side. So we're able to give a flexible migration into the cloud. We support a number of Mitel endpoints. So the investments that you've made in certain phones, you'll be able to carry those over. And then the communications, we're considered best in breed. So if you are a technology person, there's Gartner, and we tend to be in that magic quadrant or in that leader quadrant, so to speak. The advantages for customers is that it's going to give them a best-in-class experience with RingCentral's branded product of MVP, which is message, video, and phone. And those are the three solutions that we put into a single platform for you. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. It also is going to reduce complexity. So with premise-based solutions, you're responsible for your hardware, you're responsible for your software, you have to do your own upgrades. Sometimes it's not at the most opportune time, and it just becomes a little bit complicated. And if you've got multiple solutions working together, trying to figure out who is responsible when there is a problem can become a little bit of a headache. There tends to be that finger pointing situation that can go on. In a cloud-based solution with like RingCentral, it's all in one place. So it's kind of like the electricity in the building. You flip the switch, the lights come on. If they don't come on, you call one place, they get it fixed. That's how cloud works as well. So it becomes more of a commodity and less of a capital expenditure, if you will. It also provides the ability and the flexibility for people to work the way that works best for them. So it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what medium you choose, you will still have all the same tools as your in-office counterparts would have. And that really is what people are looking for as they look at what jobs they want to have, what careers they're pursuing. That flexibility will help differentiate a business from another one that's in the same vertical. So let's talk about some of those benefits of moving to cloud. I've mentioned a couple, but here are a few more. It can be accessed from remote locations. If you've got internet, you've got RingCentral, basically. I do the same things from my phone that I do from my laptop. I could do it from a tablet. It really doesn't matter where I am. As long as I have an internet connection, I can access the tools that I need to communicate with my co-workers, but also with my external customers. Not to call anyone out, but I know Courtney is actually on this call. She's a RingCentral partner manager, and she's doing the call from her mobile device right now. So just kind of to show you that that can be done. Also, implementation, it can take a lot of time, especially in a premise-based solution. It can be months sometimes with the implementation. In a cloud-based solution, we can implement or get you turned up, if you will, in a matter of weeks, depending upon the complexity of the install and the number of endpoints and things of that nature. But it's a lot faster process than it is in a premise-based solution. The network is reliable. What RingCentral brings to the table is a 5 nines reliability, which is equal to what you may have been experiencing in a premise-based solution. If you're unfamiliar with what 5 nines actually means, it's less than 6 minutes of unscheduled downtime on an annual basis. So that's a really, really big deal that you can rely upon this. When you pick up the phone, you're going to have dial tone. When you log in, you're going to be able to message. Or if you need to do video conferences, the platform is going to be steady. But more importantly, it's also going to be secure. And it also prepares you for disaster recovery. One of the things that I like to kind of talk to people about is, yes, we just experienced the craziness of the last 2 years with the pandemic, but there are a lot of other things that tend to happen. So, 100-year storms that never happened except for 100 years are now happening every 5 years. Snow is, it's snowing in places that it doesn't snow, or big ice storm that happens in Texas every other year and pretty much cripples the place. These are things that we have to think about now. And these are things that, as a business owner and business leaders, you have to plan for. So disaster recovery, or business continuity, as we like to call it, is something that the cloud can provide. If there's a situation where people can't get into the office for whatever the reason, if they have an internet connection and they're in a safe place, they can still be able to work and be productive. So those are some of the things that are some of the benefits that cloud can provide. What RingCentral brings to the table is a unified experience. And by unified, we mean a single platform, everything in the same place. So you've got your message, you've got your video, and you've got your phone in that order. One of the things I've learned over the last couple of years is that messaging is the number one way that people communicate, both personally and professionally. So it's a really big deal to be able to do that. Video, for a lot of us, has become the new face-to-face meeting. I'm a remote employee for RingCentral. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. The preponderance of my team is in Denver. And then we've got a couple of folks that are actually in the Philippines. So when we have a meeting or we have an all team, it's usually over video, and that allows us to see each other. I will also share just a little tidbit that during the pandemic, the video conferencing was actually a lifeline for me, because I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at that time, and the video calls that we had on a weekly basis allowed for me to see my peers and allowed for me to remember that I'm not out here all alone. So it gave me that human contact that I needed, that the circumstances of the pandemic did not allow me to have. It's easy, it's flexible, and it's smart. So let's talk about that. A few things that a single platform is going to do for you that maybe people haven't thought about, and it can potentially be a cost saver for you. So in a siloed or premise-based solution, you're probably paying your telco for audio and conferencing charges, and if you go over the allotted amount, there's probably overages there. And then your video and video recording, as well as the storage of that, is a separate bill and a separate platform or solution. Your collaboration and video conferencing might be a third one that you have in there. Any integrations, third party, you might be paying separately for those as well. Your global PBX and your contact center, if you have that, managing those tools as well as having the analytics that you want, could be extra charges there. And then your messaging and chat could be on a completely different platform, and again, separate charges there. What we do is we put all of those things that are in that left column into one bucket or into one place under RingCentral. So everything above that orange box on the right is really your potential cost savings. We could save potentially up to 50% off of what you're paying now with your capital expenditures. It unlocks potential benefits across the company, and it increases productivity because people have access to the tools wherever they may happen to be. So let's start with messaging. Messaging is not very different than what others have offered out there or what you might have on your mobile device. You can message your team, but what it does do that's a little different than some other platforms out there is that we have a tool built into our messaging that allows for us, like leaders, to assign tasks. So think about it like this. Maybe you've got a new hire class coming in. You could create a group or a team for them. You could assign online learning or different forms or things that need to be filled out. You could assign a due date for it. And then as they complete it, they could check it off. And as a leader, you would be able to see what their progress is. So it allows for you to see that. It also allows, maybe if you're a project manager, if there's particular tasks that members of that project team need to get done, again, you could assign it, and you could create a calendar where everyone can see what's getting done or what's supposed to be done and what the due dates are. And that's outside of your regular Outlook calendar. So it's inside the messaging tool that gives some additional visibility. In regards to calling or voice, you're going to have your calls all in the same place. So you click on the phone icon, you're going to be able to see your calls that have come in, any calls you may have missed, any outbound calls that have been made. Your voicemail is going to be right there. You can read the voicemail or you can play it and listen to it, whichever works better for you. I personally love the ability to have my voicemail transcribed, because sometimes people call you, you're in the middle of a meeting, and maybe you can't take that call, but you can peek at your phone and see what the message was about. And then if it's really urgent, you can step out or leave the meeting in order to address. The other thing that separates us or differentiates RingCentral from our competitors is that in our messaging, there is no size or time limitations. Sam, what does that really mean? You know how if you needed to send, say, I don't know, a 3.2 gigabit recording of a training class that you delivered to your counterparts in Denver and in the Philippines, and you did that through Outlook, and you would get that pop-up box from the IT team that says, that's not happening. So you'd have to chunk it into smaller pieces, and then they'd have to put it back together once they received it. That's cumbersome, that's complicated, and that could be hard. In our message system, if I want to send a 3.2 gigabit recording of a training class, I can do that, no problem. Also, anything I post in messaging is there until I delete it, or if the administrator feels like they need to delete it. Okay, so what that really means is that maybe I was part of a project team, my portion of it is done, somebody new comes in, they can see the history of that. I have access to training documents and to notes of teams that I was a part of, that I'm a part of, that happened years before I was even at RingCentral. So it allows for those things to be there for posterity. Again, unless someone deletes it, or the owner, the original poster, or the administrator of the system, it's going to be there. The last bullet on here is that we integrate with pretty much everything. We've got over 350 different out-of-the-box integrations that we can do. So pretty much whatever you're using, we can make that work on this platform seamlessly. However, if you've got some unique things that maybe have been built in-house, we can integrate with those as well. We've done over 2,500 custom integrations for our prospects and for our customers, so keep that in mind as well. Video, as I mentioned before, it's the new face-to-face for a lot of us, and we provide a high-definition video as well as audio experience. I mentioned that 5 nines of reliability, and you'll see that on that third bullet there. So 99.999% uptime with a service level agreement. So if it is not at that 5 nines level, and we provide you with the analytics to see that, then we can there'll be a credit for you if that should happen. But we've had, I think it's like 7 quarters. I think it is 7 to 10 quarters of 99.999% uptime. The messaging is built in there. So let's say I'm messaging you, and sometimes there's a disconnect between keyboard and brain, and we need to talk it out. We need to look at each other and just conversate. I can click a button and escalate my messaging session into a video conference call seamlessly. Also, everyone who has the RingCentral platform has access to video, and your day-to-day video access will give you up to about 300 votes on a single call if you needed to do that. We also have a webinar tool that we can provide for much larger interactions, as well as if you have external things that you need to do. You've got cool little features built in there as well. You got the virtual backgrounds and closed captioning. There's transcription of your meetings now. So let's say that someone was unable to attend, you can record the meeting. And then what you could also do is just kind of send it to them. They can see what the highlights are or what the key points that were brought through. WebRTC, and there's multi-layer security. What that means to you is no one's going to bomb you. No one's going to get into your video calls and show inappropriate things or make inappropriate conversations in there. So you're going to be able to see what's happening. You can authenticate who's coming in there, and you can even set up a waiting room so that your tech team can do a little tech check before you start and make sure all of the technology is working in an optimum fashion. Last but not least is phone. Voice is not going anywhere. Some of us just like to talk. And so we do have phones, and we have a number of different ways that you can use the phone. I'm actually on my laptop, so I'm using the audio from my laptop, or what we call a soft phone. As mentioned earlier, if you're a Mitel customer, you can utilize your Mitel phone. Some of them, not all of them, but a lot of the models of the Mitel phones are integratable now. We also have an open platform. What does that actually mean? That means that people can develop things. So if there's another phone model out there, we use Polycom and Yelinks as well. But if someone wants to adapt their phone, we'll give them the opportunity to adapt it so that we can integrate it in. We are compliant with various industry standards. So if you're in the healthcare, we are HIPAA compliant. Financial institutions or financial services, FINRA compliant. We are a high trust company. What that means is that we've undergone a very rigorous security evaluation process. And what that means is that they've looked at our processes, they've looked at our standards, they've looked at the way that we do things. And they've given us basically a thumbs up and said, okay, as new requirements come down, you're going to be first in line to receive those because we've seen how you do things and your processes meet our standards. So it's a really, really big deal to be a high trust company. I spoke about flexibility and our ability to integrate. So again, over 300 different business apps that we integrate with out of the box, or as I like to say, every day or all day, every day. So if you're a Google environment, we can work with that. Microsoft, we can work with that. And you'll see some of the others. These are some of the larger logos that a lot of businesses that we work with have these different types of tools in their organizations or in their workspace. Also, as I mentioned, because we are an open platform, we do allow for people to develop additional things to complement what we bring to the table. So we're not trying to be a jack of all trades here. So we understand there's some folks that are focused on some things. Let's integrate those things into our platform and help them to cast a wider net. Microsoft is a really big partner for us, as well as a really big player in the cloud space. So a lot of customers have Microsoft. We use Microsoft at RingCentral ourselves. So just wanted to point out that if you're a Teams environment, we work with that. We have a couple of different options for integrating RingCentral into your Teams environment. Also with Outlook, as I mentioned that a little bit earlier, where I tried to send that 3.2 gig recording to my peers. Office 365, if that's your environment, basically saying whatever it is that you're using Microsoft, we can integrate with that. We work with it seamlessly, and that's something that we do all the time. And speaking of Teams a little bit more specifically, we have a simple adoption. Again, we can either embed or we can enhance what's already there. So basically, we become the phone or the voice mechanism of your Microsoft Teams, because Teams requires a third party or an additional party to do the voice piece of that. So RingCentral can do that, and you can continue to use a Teams interface if you so desire. Or what we found is a lot of folks see what RingCentral brings to the table and go, we'll just go ahead and switch on over and then use Microsoft for their Office features, but not necessarily for the collaboration tools. If you are a Teams environment, the good thing about having RingCentral as the voice mechanism, no retraining. So if people are comfortable with that and they're already using it, they can continue to do so. There's nothing to install or download. It can all be handled in the back end with your IT team. And then it also reduces app overload. So one of the things that we've learned is that in a lot of solutions, there's so many different apps and there's so many different things where you have to go to a different screen. People get confused and just don't use the tools that are available to them to make them more productive. In a RingCentral environment with an integration into Teams, that would not be the case. And high availability. It doesn't matter how great it is if it's always down. So one of the things that we do is we assure that we're providing the highest level of availability and security. So it's geo-redundant. We've got about 17 data centers around the globe. So if there's something going on in one data center, we actually just reroute that traffic. And it is active. What does that mean, Sam? That means that your data it's not going to be a downtime situation. So if we had to reroute, all of the information that the second data center or the additional data center needs, it's already there. We just turn it up. We provide a 5 nines reliability with an SLA, as I mentioned before, 0 downtime upgrade. So when we do need to do an upgrade, they are scheduled, but we do it at a time where the business is not negatively impacted. So we can do that in your off hours. And if it's a 24-hour environment that you have, then we stagger that. So we just kind of rotate it to make sure that we don't have to take a business completely down to do an upgrade. We have direct peering with 45 different carriers around the globe and 200 or more ISPs. So we work with our peers, if you will, our community in there. 24/7, 365 NOC. So our network operations centers, and we have them really in every continent that we have a presence. So we have a NOC here in the US, we've got one in the UK or in Europe, we've got one over in APAC as well, and we are setting up one in India because we are getting our foot in the door over there as well. So wherever we have a presence, we do have a NOC, and that's really important so that you know that someone's watching the data everywhere. And security is our strength as well as our global compliance that I mentioned to you guys just a little bit before. That's all that I have for you today. What questions can I answer for you?
We're off mute now.
Okay, Sam, I have a question. Your last bullet has to do with security and compliance, and I'm curious about taking customer credit card information. Generally speaking, we don't do that over the internet. We do it on phone because it's considered more secure, or fax machine because it's considered more secure. So I'm wondering how you could speak to that, because banks have pretty much left it up to vendors to secure their customers' data.
So on the compliance screen, and let me share again. Where'd my window go? Hold on 1 second, it's doing something weird. All right, I'll just go with entire screen. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
It says screen sharing is paused.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too, Sam.
Yeah, it doesn't like it when I try to share the whole screen. All right, I'm here. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's see if it'll do. There it is. Ew, that was so odd. Okay.
Now we see it.
Okay. So you'll see right next to High Trust, the PCI.
Okay.
And that's the software that we will integrate into our solution that makes it where when credit card information, social security numbers, anything that is private or secure information, the PCI will basically block that out of any recordings. It blocks it out of anything that's tracing those numbers. So it stops recording, and then once that information has been accessed, the software will automatically put it back, start the recording again. So it does blank that information out so that it is secure.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions or concerns?
I'm thinking that this technology or this system, we have I don't know if I want to call it ancient, but it's close to ancient Mitel system. And I'm guessing that our current hardware is not compatible with this.
We can check on that for you, AJ. I know that. Are you on the 5,000 system or are you on the 2,500 or 250 system?
I'm pretty sure he's on the 250. I'll look it up. But yeah, there would be nothing that would integrate at all with those.
Possibly the phones.
No, the phones are digital phones, if I'm correct.
Okay.
They're old digital style phones. No, and they only took the 5300 series phones and not the Mitel 6900 series phones, which you guys are connecting to.
Got it.
But I'll confirm that in 2 seconds. Here.
So the question, I guess, the features and everything look great. We're probably, this would help us grow for sure. But I'd want to see what are we looking at in terms of
Sure.
Investment.
in to implement something like this. I mean, I do acknowledge the fact that we're essentially living on borrowed time with the phone system that we have. I think we brought it over from our old space and we moved in here in 2006. So
Oh, wow.
probably
It's
20 years old or more.
We're bringing it straight over to the museum, just so you know.
But
yeah,
but the phones work, and
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I
if
get
it ain't
it.
broke, don't fix it. Exactly.
Yeah, I have a Samsung phone from 2014, and I just cried a couple of weeks ago because it just started updating and it won't stop. And I'm like, man, I gotta go buy a phone now because my sister's like, that thing, you got that thing when you moved here in 2014. You should have had a new phone years ago. Like it kept working.
Yeah, it looks like 7 years ago, you guys had just an upgrade of the actual system side of it. And then it was four phone lines and 14 phones at the time. All you did, and you used your existing phones, the actual phones on your desk from your old system, but you upgraded just the kind of the brains of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So all that would have to change, correct?
Correct, because now we would be running over your data network in a way. That's a whole nother discussion. Because it really depends on your cable and infrastructure as well to make sure that if it coming in, you can actually, with all these phones, it has a throughput, so you can actually come from the wall to the back of the phone, out of the phone to your computer at every site that you actually have a phone. But areas where you have a phone where you may not have a computer, those are the areas we would have to discuss, like putting a data cable out there, or if there isn't one. You got it.
Yeah. What about things like right now we have a cordless phone in the warehouse that somebody typically carries around when they're out in the warehouse. And is that something that exists today, or does this
Or could it be
preclude the use of
programmed
that?
to forward to a cell phone?
So we don't have DEC phones on the RingCentral platform right now. It is a roadmap item, but you could put it, if the person has a mobile device, there's an app. You put the app on here and it would ring just as if it was a regular phone. And you could put it in, a more secure type of case to make sure if they were in the warehouse and they dropped it, it wouldn't break. But there is an app on the phone that allows you to have all of the features that would be on the desktop or on a desk phone right here.
And they don't have to.
somebody's
So-
personal cell phone, they would install this app, and if the app is, can they turn it on and off, so that if they're at home
On
or on
vacation.
vacation or something, they're not getting, you know, phone calls
So-
coming in, ringing to our business if they're in Tahiti or something?
So what they could do is they could actually go into the app and put themselves out of office or put themselves on vacation as their status. And then they could also go in and reroute the phone to go to someone else while they're away. So it's very similar to what you may have in your Mitel system, where you're able to reroute your phone, you're able to redirect calls. But the beauty of it is that you're at the end of say that person left the company, you're not trying to get a phone back from them, because it's already on their phone, and your administrator would be able to turn off their access to your network immediately.
Okay.
System.
Yeah.
the-
And the other thing is that any business calls would ring on their mobile device, but it would come through the app. Any calls that they made, if they needed to make an external call or they needed to call somebody in the company, as long as they tap the app first, it's going to show corporate number. So it eliminates the external sources or customers getting their personal number. It would, as long as they tap the RingCentral app and they make their phone call through there, it's showing your number, not their number.
Okay.
And you'll have administrative tools that gives you insight, just like you do on your Mitel system, to kind of see the activity that's going on, how many calls are going into that number. And you may decide over time, it's not that many calls, maybe a wall phone is better.
Yeah, that Mitel system doesn't have all that. It's pretty old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's going to be a bonus. You'll be able to see what's actually going on. But you can even get so granular as you can see what features are your folks using and which ones are they not using.
Yeah, just so you know, Sam, the TVs that we have are 13 inches, they're black and white, and they have dials.
And do you bring your children in to change the channels for y'all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they're fascinated by that. They're like, I don't get it. Like, our TV at home has no buttons and,
Yeah.
10,000 channels, and then you have that TV with all the buttons and no stations.
Well, my grandmother
And
used to
bunny
tease
ears.
us when TVs got more advanced, and she was like, aren't you guys glad that you have actual remotes and you don't have to use your children to change the channel?
Yeah.
And you guys, we can set up a demo with RingCentral for you and like come to your offices and show you what we can do for you.
Okay.
I can get Dennis to get in touch with you on that, or I can manage it or whatever we decide.
Yeah.
I'm not the phone guy. I'm the marketing guy. So
Yeah.
And Dennis would be able to take a look at what your current
Yeah.
infrastructure is and kind of make the assessments on if there are things that need to be done in order to bring cloud in, or if really your infrastructure will support cloud right now. So he'll be able to
Right.
make those assessments at the same time.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the one other
You definitely
option.
need to do that. So.
Yeah, one other question, toward the beginning of the, well, you have the MVP, message, video, and phone, right?
Mhm.
Messaging, I'm assuming, is something like text messaging? And is this
Yeah.
mostly internal communication for that, or is that external as well? So,
you're
It's
asking Sam the
internal.
perfect question. Did you see that smile? She's like,
It's
yes, this is the
internal.
way I go in.
It's internal and external. So you can send messages, you can send videos, you can send audio, you can do a lot of things. It's got emojis and GIFs in there. It's more than just the iMessage that you have on your iPhone. It is very, very robust. And I'll just share a quick little anecdote. During the pandemic, my family would have family game night on Fridays. And so my brother and my sister are not their companies don't use RingCentral, but I was able to invite them to the family game nights that I hosted just through their email address. And so it'll send them a link to kind of download, and it allows external folks to have the same experience. So you can include them in groups, you can include them in teams, and it'll even show on your screen if there are external folks or guests in that team or in that group, so that as employees, nothing confidential gets put into the outer space, if you will. But the short answer is no, it's not just messaging. It's not just texting, but we can also send a text message. So our messaging platform can send an SMS if need be, and it also does fax.
Okay, so the other question with that, we use Zoho. I don't know if you're familiar with Zoho.
I am. They're one of our integrations that we do out of the box.
Okay, so so can we record, say, those text messages and have them associated with a given contact or a lead or something, so that we have records of those interactions?
Same with
Yes,
voice.
sir.
Yes.
Same with voice, right?
Yes. Well, the voice would track the phone number that came in or that the call had come in. I don't know if it's actually doing the recording on that. So that's something that one of our sales engineers will be able to answer.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if we don't need to record every single conversation we have, but
Well,
having the ability to record, is that what you're saying?
it is, but I also know, you're placing an order with a vendor, you have email to track record of conversation of what you ordered, but you also have voice conversations that, in some ways it holds you more accountable, but it also holds your vendors more accountable.
Right.
That we had this conversation and we have record of this conversation.
So I know
Sure.
on our platform, each person does have the ability to record their phone calls as well as their RCB. So you can just literally just click a record and be able to record a phone call at will. So I know we have a company that sells concrete, and this is going to sound crazy, but every concrete order is actually recorded at this particular company, so that once they get there, the customer can't say, oh, well, we didn't order this much or whatever. They have a record of exactly what was said and what was ordered, so that they can protect themselves.
Sam, does that get into
exactly what you were saying?
Yeah.
Does that get into any
Privacy issues and law breaking?
legality?
In most states, no, but if there is as long as a company has a recording that says that, this call could be recorded for training purposes, you're pretty much good to go. And I think that
indemnifies you. That's good.
Yeah.
I think everybody wishes they could have that at a touch of a button.
Yeah.
I certainly do. I mean, there's plenty of times that I would like to just go click.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Even for your own sanity check, even if it wasn't being, it's like, I know we talked about this and,
That's why I love, one of the great things that email has given us is that, especially Gmail, where you keep everything. Like I had someone just tell me the other day that, oh, you didn't email me that. And sure enough, I did. And I forwarded it into my reply because
here's a copy of the email.
Here it is. This is your email. This is the date. I'm sorry, you can't deny this. So
and I know at our end, we have some people who prefer phone calls. And the one thing I hate about phone calls is,
no paper trail.
Now it's a year later. And one person in the office is saying, I don't recall the conversation like that. Another person is saying something else, and there's no written record showing what actually happened. So, we can't go back to somebody. They can't go back. And sometimes it's even refreshing your own memory to say, oh, that did happen that way. I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I have an incorrect memory of it. So I really do like emails for that reason.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And laws change constantly, but what the law, I would have to look at the update, but what the law for New York State was as long as one person in the party talking in the conversation knows that the recording is happening, then it's okay. So you could record it and then the other person didn't need to know. But then again, I'd have to check, but if somebody from outside couldn't record two of you.
Got it.
That's how the law was written. But I'd have to, they constantly change laws. So
no tapping your phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I guess the next step, Dennis and Tony, you'll circle back in the next few days or weeks or whatever.
I'll circle back and we'll get together and I'll come out there and kind of look at what you got and make sure that, kind of assess the overall, what you have data wise to make sure that we are, you're fit for this and what it would take to get you fit for this.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Awesome. Nice
I
one.
wanna
Thank
say-
you guys.
Yeah,
I'd like
nice
to-
meeting you.
I'd just like to say on behalf of Rel Comm RingCentral, I really appreciate you guys' time, and we'll be getting you a gift card for your time and your registration, and we'll be in touch very soon.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a
Bye.
great day.
You
You
too.
too.